let me jump and I'll read a piece or two just and this will relate to John Metcalf Smith from a book of the family of Matthew Smith, which carries down the generations of things. Um, because there were many John Smiths in his native town, John, at least in his later years, called himself Metcalf J. Smith, and so his neighbors came to know him familiarly as M.J. To his nieces and nephews, however, he was always Uncle John. After preparatory education at the high school in Springfield, supplemented by courses with the senior class in 1850 at Williston Seminary, John, together with his brother Azariah, entered New York Central College in McGrawville, New York, in the fall of 1851. The brothers graduated in the class of 1855, after which John at once obtained the professorship uh, of mixed mathematics and natural science at the college, where he remained until 1857. When he completed his college courses, John's youngest brother, Edward, declined the burden of running the farm in Middlefield. John, at considerable sacrifice, came back to the family home, cared for his father during his declining years, and reared his large family there. Besides cultivating the farm, Mr. Smith found time to serve in many public offices as selectman for 16 years, as representative to the General Court in 1884, as town treasurer in 1895 to 1904, and as town clerk from 1899 to 1905. Also, he was postmaster at the center from 1898 to 1906. His major service to the town and vicinity, perhaps, was as principal of the select school at Middlefield Center, carrying on for years the admirable work which Azariah Smith had started there in 1858, and which Judson and Edward P. Smith and others continued from 1859 to 1864. Those were next generations and cousins. The attracted uh, the excellence of the instruction and preparatory courses at this institution attracted occasional students from neighboring towns, who considered Middlefield fortunate indeed in having such educators among its citizens. At times the school numbered 40 scholars, with early courses lasting 15 weeks. Mr. Smith, as principal of this school from 1864 to about 1890, and the satisfaction of seeing his own children as well as others of his pupils continue their education and graduate from Amherst, Brown, Mount Holyoke, and Oberlin College and Worcester Polytechnic Institute. For a period after 1890, Mr. Smith served as a superintendent of schools for a group of western Massachusetts towns, including Middlefield, Huntington, Worthington, Chester, and Becket. And so it goes on, and it sort of shows the kind of direction that he had and which his folks had before him as to schooling. So in talking about the fair, Mr. Smith, this is talking about MJ now, for a long time, the treasurer of the Highland Agricultural Society, was president of the day, president of the day for the town's centennial celebration in 1883, and served as town librarian from 1903 to 1906. And it was 50 years later, my grandfather, Louis Smith, was sort of the president of the day for the fair when they had it. That I remembered. These other ones I really don't. Uh, Actually, Mount Holyoke was when they were getting first started. The contribution was made to them for uh, helping them get going, and we have somewhere in the family now the letter of thank you to that, which was fun to see. But it was their interest in education certainly at the local level, but extending out to beyond that. Speaking of Worcester Polytechnic Institute, that's where where my grandfather uh, ended up going to school. He graduated in 1892. Uh, he was born in 1870. It was there that he one of his teachers that he admired was a fellow named John Sinclair. And John Sinclair had a daughter named Louise, which uh, Louis, my grandfather, took a liking to. And indeed, they were married shortly after he graduated from Tech in 1892. And they then, my grandfather and with his new wife went out to out to Hawaii, Ohio somewhere. Can't remember right now. But it was there that he started to work for the it was for the department of the that had the governmental department that had to do with patents and such. He was working there and at the same time going to school, and he ended up having a degree in law, and so he became a patent attorney. Interestingly, for those people who have hold law license currently and had to pass an exam, when he came back to Middlefield and had to pass an exam, what the exam was that you went in and spoke to a local judge, and he chatted with you and quizzed you, and the end result was he decided either that you knew enough about law to be a lawyer or you don't. And so that's how he passed his law degree. He ended up moving, that's where the change of venue came when, in the Smith homestead going to him, and he being in Boston where he was practicing there. His sister, Kate Smith, was a teacher, as was a number of the other. In those days, women went to college, but the teaching was one of the principal things you came out doing, because somehow all the professions and other businesses were run by men. But Kate Smith taught school and eventually retired and lived on Main Street here in Middlefield. Actually, it was in a house that had been used by his father when his father got her father's. That would have been M.J. Was getting old and couldn't do the farming, and how when that transferring of property occurred. And Kate, that sister Kate, was active in town as well, as I recall, with them. And I can't tell you the different jobs that she had, but a good role model for everybody too.